Hello, this is Dr. Richard Fleming. Today is Sunday, August 30th, 2020. With the protests that erupted in Europe yesterday and today in Berlin and London and surrounding cities and countries, it's becoming ever increasingly apparent that people are bothered by the continued shutdown of their society and life. Shutdowns that were the direct result of countries and state actions resulting around the fear of COVID 19. It's important to ask a very specific question with COVID 19. That is to say, why are people dying with the virus? If we use the CDC numbers, which is a good source for tracking information, what you'll discover is that only about 5 to 6% of the total deaths that have been reported in the United States occur in individuals who merely get COVID 19, which means that 94 to 95% of the deaths are associated with comorbidities. What are these comorbidities? The very things that I've been warning about since 1994. They are diseases that occur in people like obesity, heart disease, cancer, high blood pressure, cerebrovascular disease or strokes, and the elderly. And also in the very young who are still immune naive. These individuals have an increased tendency to form blood clots and to have inflammation, which first shows itself in the lungs, making it difficult for people to breathe. In fact, if we take the CDC numbers seriously, it provides confirming evidence of what we've been seeing from the autopsy results from Hamburg in Italy, and most recently a report published in Physicians First Watch Medical News on the 26th of this month, 2020, where the investigators looked at autopsies in the United States and compared people who received medications that reduce the clotting tendency associated with the immune response to this virus in contrast to individuals who didn't get those treatments. And the vast majority of those individuals who died, who weren't treated to reduce the blood clots and the inflammation, died as a result of these blood clots and inflammation. This is not new information, and I have been talking about it since the onset of COVID 19. There's also recent research that shows that this occurs in influenza A, as I spoke about on one of the recent videos. I want to show you something just to bring this to full attention. And that means first I just need to reduce the size of this screenshot here and then to share the screen with you. Here we go. This is a website that we've put together to explain what actually causes a number of these inflammoThrombotic diseases like heart disease and cancer and diabetes. And in this website, it explains not only the ability to measure it, but the importance of heart disease, cancer, and COVID 19. I'd like to say that it's a new event that individuals are becoming aware of this, but this dates back to 1994. And if we look at the 12 triggers that produce these problems, we have bad cholesterol and fats, excess weight, homocysteine, which is a result of infections and immune responses, and blood clotting associated with it, the oxidative damage which can occur for a variety of reasons, lack of exercise, fibrinogen, which increases with certain types of diets, and also with the use of convalescent plasma, a number of things called growth factors and the cytokines and leukotrienes that are the communicators between white blood cells and this inflammatory response going on, the complement cascade, which is involved critically in the killing of bacteria and viruses in these infections. And you'll see actual infections here where we talk about bacteria, viruses, and other infectious agents, and then actual direct physical damage. The information on this was all made painfully clear in another posting that we had at the time where I was trying to emphasize the importance of looking at COVID 19 and the associated pandemic and the inflammation that occurs in the body. And this figure shows how all 12 of those factors play a role together. And where I don't expect the general public to recognize this, this is a call for action by the medical community that it has been ignoring up until now, at least, and has resulted in massive deaths in individuals and the development of COVID 19 pneumonia, as can be measured directly versus looking for indirect tests. If the CDC information tells us nothing more than the fact that the vast majority of people who are dying with COVID aren't doing so just because of the virus, it importantly also tells us that they're dying because of these inflammathrombotic diseases which aren't being addressed. We've shut down cities, counties, states, and countries, all to address a problem that should have been handled medically to begin with. It's not the presence of people contracting COVID 19 from other individuals that's killing people. It's a failure to address the inflammation and the blood clotting in the treatment of these individuals once they need to be hospitalized. 94 to 95% of the deaths are because the people aren't being treated for this. Only 5%, which is a substantially smaller, albeit still significant number, are dying merely because they have a COVID 19 infection.